It's Liebherr time again, and in this review we're looking at a model of the Liebherr LTM 1090 4.2, and it's made by WSI Models. As you can see from the box, it's a 4-axle crane, and its maximum lifting capacity is 90 tons. Out of the Liebherr branded box comes the usual expanded polystyrene trays, and there's also a card with the model which has a QR code, and you can use that and your smartphone to access more information. The trays are helpfully marked top and bottom, so there's no excuse for getting the model out upside down, and they're joined together by tape, which allows us to get the knife out. After some cutting and slicing, we can see the model, and the parts are wrapped with protective film. As we get the model out, we see it's in the limited edition colours of Weiland, which is a German crane hire company. The model is reeved out of the box, but the factory were a little bit untidy at the tying off point, so we'll cut that off and just redo it so it all looks much nicer. Included as a part is this large spooling reel, which you could stick on, but we will decide to leave it off. The counterweight is packed separately in the box, and it consists of a number of separate parts. For transport, you can put all but one piece under the boom at the midpoint, and you can carry the other part at the back of the carrier where it is positioned loosely. With all the ballast loaded, there's one other thing to add on, and that's the fly jib, and in transport mode we fit that to the side of the boom. To fix it in place, we can use a securing pin, and to do that it's best to line the holes up with a small screwdriver. Doing that makes it easy to put the pin in. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a matching Weiland truck, and this is WSI model number 012747, then we can use the truck to carry part of the counterweight, and also the spreader plates which come with the model. We start our look at the detail underneath, and it's typical WSI. It is high quality with all of the transmission and suspension components modelled. There are various tanks, and the tyres have a decent tread pattern. The carrier cab looks great with its beacon lights, and there are the usual windscreen wipers and hook tying on point, and also a realistic number plate. The Liebherr hook also looks very good. The quality of the Weiland graphics is excellent, and there's also door handles and textured steps. A very nice aspect of this model is that there are lots of tiny warning graphics, and these give the model an authentic appearance. The wheels look good, and there's branding on the tyres. The crane cab is modelled well, and it has a metal grab rail, and again the Weiland graphics look really sharp. As you can see, there are ladders on the carrier deck, and yet more tiny graphics add to the authentic appearance. Behind the cab there's some more really nice modelling, and that includes hydraulic hoses and other components. At the back of the crane there are various beacon lights, and the Liebherr name is embossed. Lower down there's a non-removable ladder, and there's more high detail including the lights, number plate and bumper bar. The fly jib is a nice metal part, and there are silver metal pulleys. The metal outrigger beams are convincing with their chevron graphics, and the pistons have a smooth surface. The detailing of the engine area behind the carrier cab is first rate. There are lots of small components including hoses and pipes, and there are some excellent grills and nice textured surfaces. One weakness on the model are the pulleys in the boom head, and that's because it's a solid block rather than separate sheaves, and that's an old-fashioned way of doing it. In contrast, the graphics on the boom sections are great. With the Liebherr looking particularly laid back, let's check out the steering, and it functions very well with a good range of movement. Each axle is independent, so you can set them separately, so all the modes of the real crane can be replicated. The suspension on the model is fixed. Out onto the Cranes Etc. superhighway, and the model rolls along in a straight line nicely. And as usual, let's check the cornering ability by setting the steering. We will set each axle to try and get the tightest possible turn. And the model makes a good attempt at hard cornering, with just a slight degree of skidding across the tyres. Having arrived on site, we can begin to set up, and the first thing to do is to pull out the two-stage outriggers. The pads slide out from their transport clips and then you rotate them, and plastic spreader plates are included with the model. The outriggers have an excellent range of movement to hold a model wheels free. And if we check the geometry of the outriggers, it's a little off, being perfectly straight. The boom raises very easily because the ram is all metal, and you lock it at the angle you want using the supplied Allen key into a grub screw. Some nice small features include ladders on the deck, and these rotate and can be lowered. On this side of the model there are two, and there's one on the opposite side, and these give a nice realistic touch to the model. There's also an extending stepping platform under the cab. Rotating the crane was very smooth on the review model, and it turned easily without any stickiness. We'll add back on the extra piece of counterweight, and then we'll take a look at the Vario ballast system. So the ballast can be fixed at reduced radius, or these tabs swing out to hold the ballast at maximum radius. And depending on which way you set it, you position the ballast on the deck accordingly. So for reduced radius we put the ballast in, and for maximum radius it goes to the transport position. Now we'll rotate the crane around to pick up the ballast, and on the model the fit of the parts is not perfectly accurate, so you have to fiddle a little bit to get the crane over the top of the ballast. After that the system works very well, and you use the Allen key to raise and lower the hydraulic rams that hook into the ballast block. So you can use the rams to pick the ballast up, and then the crane can rotate with the counterweight fitted. The telescopic boom has locking points at around 50%, 90% and 100%. And to extend the boom, you just pull out the sections in turn. And it helps to put a weight on the hook while you do this, so that the hoist ropes are kept nice and taut. With the boom up and extended, there's another feature on the model you can use, and that's the tilting cab. Operating the hoist drum works very well on the model. There's a key supplied, and you push the drum in to release the brake, and then it's easy to turn it. So you can operate the crane like a real pro. However, sometimes you just like to reach out, and on the model you can reach out further by using the fly jib. It folds, so if you want the full length you open it up and pin it in position. And there's also a guide wheel that needs to be lifted up. That's going to guide the hoist rope, and when it's lifted up fully you can pin it into position. Next we can fit the fly jib to the top of the boom, and it fits over and nicely into position. And guess what? You lock it in position with a couple of steel pins. After that we have to disconnect and reuse the hook block, and it's a pity there's not a proper single line hook block supplied with the model. The fly jib does offer some additional functionality, and that's because it's got a ratchet held in place by brass nuts and bolts. And when you undo those, you can set the jib to one of two different angles. So that gives you some additional flexibility for those up and over lifts. Fully extended, the model is large, so let's do a dim check. And fully extended, the boom reaches a height of 43 inches or 110 centimeters. And to the top of the fly jib, it's nearly 56 inches or 142 centimeters. This is another high-quality mobile crane model from WSI. It's a very nice mix of high detail and functionality, and this limited edition looks particularly attractive in the colours of Weiland. So if you're looking for a nice 4-axle crane model, this one is excellent.